Welcome back. We're in conversation with Andrew Holland, looking back at the week and, of course, also looking ahead in terms of what lies ahead in the coming week. Andrew, thanks very much for staying with us. You know, we did talk about stocks, what you like, your top bets, ideas. Let's just talk about something which is macro-ish, but very important, the French elections. How meaningful do you think that is going to be as a trigger?
Well, you know, it's the first round, and I think up until a week ago, it was really, you know, Macron who was, you know, more conservative socialist in versus Marine Le Pen, and all of a sudden, you know, we've seen, you know, the far left come into the picture with you know, with huge kind of gains in popularity. So it's become a three-way kind of race at the moment. I still think it's going to play out that, you know, Macron will kind of lead through. You know, Marine Le Pen has been, this is her third time around, I think, so she's a pretty well-known entity in France, so there's nothing new behind what her policies are. I think if we can get through this with Macron kind of, you know, still holding you know, a seriously good lead going forward, then I think that will do two things. It'll probably bring a, you know, a big sigh of relief to Europe in terms of there's going to be no more disruption. There's no another Brexit, for example, and that would obviously have the euro strengthening going forward as well. And that would mean, you know, taking the view that Macron does get in, that you know, France could you know, surprise us in terms of GDP growth. And actually all the figures coming out of Europe at the moment are very, very positive. So our view, our base case of global growth, you know, the US first, then Europe, and then Japan, is starting to play out. But there's, you know, the worst case scenario is that doesn't happen, and then, you know, Europe's up for grabs in terms of what happens next, and that would bring a lot of uncertainty, particularly in the currency markets. And obviously bond yields would start to spike, and there'd be a move towards safe haven assets. So I don't think that's going to happen, but it's always a possibility given what's happened in previous elections recently.
But, you know, all of this makes for great debate, you know, between guys like you and me. But do you think Indian investors have to bother at all about French elections?
No, obviously they don't, but in terms of if you take the worst case scenario, that would have a risk of trade, and that would bring our markets down. Now you can say, okay, that's a buy on dips, and that's always worked in the past. But, you know, a lot of things that have worked in the past don't work in the future either. So I think you'd have to see what the implications of, you know, of say Macron not getting in and someone else getting in, and what their policies are. Now, if you take it as Marine Le Pen, then she says, you know, I'm out of Europe, I want the French franc back, and that's a huge, that would be a huge change for Europe. And, you know, that would have a big knock-on effect, I think, globally, in terms of not just Europe slowing down, but that would have a global impact in terms of growth. So I don't think we'd be able to walk away from that. We might be able to keep that safe haven tag, but certainly everyone would pull money out first and then think about what they need to do next.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Really appreciate you joining in, and good getting that perspective, and of course your bets as well. Let's bring in Ashwini Gujral, who's now joining in with his views on technicals and stocks to watch out for the coming week. Ashwini, thank you very much. What did you make of the market, and what are your top bets?
See, as far as you know, the French election is concerned, you know, they told me market will go down on Brexit. It didn't. It will go down on Trump. It didn't. So in case we get these dire scenarios, I think that will present a buying opportunity. Overall, you know, 90-50, 92-50, that appears to be the range. But in case you know, global markets tumble and we open gap down or something of that sort happens, I think buying will also come in fairly quickly, and you will see the markets head higher. As far as stock calls are concerned, Ashok Leyland, I just described, has gone through you know, a strong basing pattern. The BS3 news was not able to break lows on Ashok Leyland. The chances are that it's beginning a rally which could go possibly all the way up to 95, and medium term target even up to 120. Similarly, Equitas microfinance is at a torrid time. So it looks like things are bottoming out there. Here we could see possible targets of about 195 on the upside. And finally, real estate. I think Soba did fairly well on Friday. Chances are we could see 440, 450 coming in the next week.
What about some of these private sector banks, Ashwini? I mean, Yes Bank has not given you, hardly given you a dip. It's down about 4% this week. Would you buy it at this level, or do you think that it could get a bit more choppy and then you'll get better entry points next week?
Yeah, these guys are the best buys, when the entire market falls for some reason. Bank Nifty comes off 800, 1000 points. Those are great entry levels. If something comes off 2%, 3%, I don't think it's giving you that kind of longer term buying opportunity. And in terms of trades, private banks are not very strong other than, say, an HDFC bank. I think NBFCs are much more stronger. So each time you get a dip out there, possibly those stocks are better buys.
Okay. What about some of these other heavyweights? Reliance Industries has been strong ahead of its numbers. And, we'll get to trade Reliance Industries on Monday as well because the numbers come post-market hours. Would you trade it on the upside?
See, I would think so because all this 30-40% rally from the lows of about 1,000 has happened because, people are anticipating, better times ahead. And when the stock is in this kind of mood, it'll latch on to any of the positives that are coming out. So my sense is that Reliance will balance out, everything else, the NPAs, the Bank Nifty, etc. And this is the one stock which is likely to push the market higher.
Just a quick word on DLF, if you will. Ashwini, you think good for more?
See, these guys are really catching on momentum, and in a momentum market, easily things can go up 25-30% in a short order. What has happened today is that the day we had that large fall from the highs, all of these real estate stocks had come off 4 to 5%, but they've all taken out that day's high also. In a market which wasn't doing so well, real estate index closes up 2.5%. So this sort of momentum chances are can continue. We could say 215, 220 on DLF.
Okay, Ashwini, thanks for stopping by, and it's been a good week so far. We will look forward to interacting with you again next week. You have a good weekend up until then. But for now, next week is going to be heavy on earnings. We kickstart with Reliance. You have other heavyweights like Maruti, Ultratech Cement, etc. Naveen joins in to give us a list of what to watch in the next week. Naveen?
Well, next week is going to be a result-heavy week, beginning with a big boy in the oil and gas space, RIL, and also Ultratech Cement will be posting its Q4 numbers. Tuesday is going to be a mix of news flows globally as well as results. Wipro, M&M Financial Services as well as LIC Housing Finance will be posting their Q4 numbers. Also, US new home sales data will be coming out, which the street will be keenly watching. In terms of Wednesday, will be a light day. If you take, there is only one result, that is Axis Bank. Thursday, and you have a mix of global news as well as results. Big results like Maruti Suzuki, Kotak Mahindra Bank as well as Biocon will be coming out with their Q4 numbers. And globally, Bank of Japan will be coming out with their decision on the interest rate. Remember, after US Federal Reserve, one monetary policy which the street keenly watches is this. Also, Friday the 28th of April, the likes of Ambuja Cement as well as UPL Limited will be coming up with their Q4 numbers. And the Indian government will be coming up with their core sector growth for the month of March. Back to you.
Okay, so we've got our work cut out for next week, right? Lots happening, and we better wrap up and run for our weekend then.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.